Welcome, everyone. So good to see your faces. Wow, so many coming in. Okay. If you didn't notice, there's a few of us on this group this for the first time who have a special kind of custom background. That is the new Connection Crew background. If you see someone with that, that means they've kind of committed at a deeper level to be a part of this crew and support and co-create these events with us, or just be here on a regular basis. So the panelists, for example, all should have one of these, and they have a QR code on them. That's a way for people in the community to quickly stay in touch with someone else here in the community. So if you scan the QR code, it'll give you the opportunity to see their contact info, but also send them a quick email and keep in touch. So an awesome little tool. Thank you to Covve for making those possible and making it really easy to just facilitate connection between members while you're in here in this masterclass. Again, if you're here at the Joyful Masterclass for Connection Pros, you're in the right place. We got two main goals, like I mentioned in the email. We want you to deepen a relationship with a new friend today. That's the main thing. So we're going to have everyone in the same breakout room throughout. So you're going to go into the breakout room 3 times. If you have to leave early, fine. That means people are going to get 2 friends today. Not a big deal. And it's also to give people who, like you, are all like connection professionals in your own right, 3 new activities to see what are other pros doing and for their communities and in supporting their connection. So those activities, you'll do them today. You'll learn about them, do them in the breakout rooms, but we're also going to share them via email afterwards. So as the takeaway, I would like to give a warm welcome to my friend, founder and CEO of Covve, Yannis. Please welcome me to the stage here. Let's have a quick conversation. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick. Let people know who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yannis. First of all, I'm very excited to see so many people here and so many familiar faces. And a big thanks to the team for Hansen, Melina, Hennessy's for organizing. And of course, to our panelists. Thank you, Linda, Rebecca, Brian, Ben. Can't wait for this session. So I'm Yannis. My passions in life are food, theater, and connecting with people. And I usually start with that because I really try to disguise them as work. So I founded companies in these 3 areas, with my favorite one being connecting with people, where Alex and myself, we founded Covve with a mission to help people build meaningful relationships. Our main product is Covve Personal CRM, which is, it feels like an exercise app to help people exercise their network. So make it a habit of staying in touch and connecting. And of course, we love to pass on education from experts like we're doing in this workshop here. And right that's me. In my personal life, 3 kids, 3 dogs, and a wife.
I love it. I guess I got 2 dogs, so you beat me there. But I do live in Mission Beach now, so I'm pretty happy here in San Diego. And Yannis and I met through a Facebook group, and I think we got on the phone a couple times and knew that someday we might work together. But then the Surgeon General's report on the loneliness epidemic in isolation came out, and that there was a spark there. We knew we needed to do something around this and have some impact on the world around this. And so that's why kind of him and I got here. But Yannis, I would love for you to share maybe a story about, how is this impacting your life now? What does this connection look like now? Maybe a story recently that's really shown you're on the right path.
Well, I have a recent one that has nothing to do with business. It has a lot to do with personal connections, as you said, Hansen. And it happened like a few months back. It's very impactful for me. A friend of mine, his wife was diagnosed for the 2nd time with cancer. And I remember he's a childhood friend and he lives in a different country. So I remember back then I made it a point to actually make sure that I contact him, whatever the case. He's a doctor, so he's very busy, to make sure I reach out to him enough until I get him every month. So I made this, I did this for the last 6 months, relentlessly, just to make him feel that that I'm thinking about him. And I got a message on Monday, actually, from him, a voice message on my WhatsApp, which was very touching, which was saying that it's great for him to feel that I'm around, and it just emphasized how important it is to just carve out time for loved ones. And I'm sure that both him and many friends of mine would do the same for me. So that was a big realization this week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, that reminds me of a story that I'm just starting on that journey with a friend with cancer, and reaching out and planning some time with him. But I got a couple of stories. One that's real fun. I was traveling recently with Sarah, who's on here, and connections that I've prioritized in the last 6 months or so finally came to fruition and became in real life friends. So I got to meet Jesse Jacob, who's on here, and Laura Zug, who's on here, and members of the Connection crew. And it was just so cool for that to come to fruition and be able to meet up with someone in Kansas City or North Carolina and have a meal with a friend. That was awesome. The other thing is I just got through about 3 months of recovery from a surgery that now I'm able to walk, but I wasn't able to drive. And one of my biggest fears was like, I don't have people who I can ask for help. And I've done a lot of work around connection and building my friendships up and learning how to ask for help. And so that was not a breeze, but it was a pretty great experience compared to how I thought it was going to go, because I had people helping me, and I was able to ask people for rides, and they were happy to show up and take me out for a meal. So just putting that work in for the last few years now is paying off, and I've got a support system locally here in San Diego that I can rely on, and I can be there for them.
That's great.
We're stoked to have you here, Giannis, and bringing us all together. Thank you. I think one of the things we like to tease out and show the group of, because we are a whole community of connection pros. So like, what are you guys doing in your life to stay connected with people or deepen your relationships? So what are your connection habits, or what are the tools you're using? So we'll go ahead and launch a poll. Hennesys, if you want to launch that for us. And I mentioned Hennesys' name. If you guys need any sort of tech support in the Zoom chat, you'll see tech is one of the names on the list, and that's Hennesys. She'll help you out. But let's go ahead and bring Kevin Monroe up to the stage here. Hennesys, if you can help him come up while we're getting everyone's response on this poll of ours. Kevin, many of you have already had the pleasure of meeting, but real quick, Kevin, let people know who you are. And then I invited him on stage because he's someone I look to as a mentor in the connection world, and how he does things. It's amazing. And so I think a lot of you have felt that. And I asked him, can you share your secrets with us today?
Well, Hansen, what a joy to be here. I'll quick introduction. People call me the world's gratitude coach. My work is all around growing gratitude. And if you want to grow gratitude, let's connect. Titles that mean a lot to me. Hansen just added one. I don't always think of mentor, but I think of friend, husband, father, and papa. We have 2 grandchildren, and brother. So those are titles that mean a lot to me. And I'm thrilled to be here today. And I just want to jump in and say, Hansen, I don't think of myself as a master connector, but I'm on the path of mastery. And mastery is a word I love from Dan Pink's definition, getting better and better at something that truly matters.
I love that.
Connection matters, right?
So what are the things you're doing that are helping you develop this mastery?
Well, one of the things coming to these events. So, Giannis, thank you for starting this. I mean, I've made every one of these. These are a priority for me to be. And when I come to these, and today's a little bit of a challenge because the room's so big. But my goal is always to connect with 1, 2, or 3 people here. And Femia, last month, we had such an instant connection in this session, and we weren't in a group, but we reached out afterwards. And after the after party, we had another after party that went for 75 minutes. So one of the things is always look for people that you want to meet. Always. And then always reach out, make yourself available. There was a poll a couple of months ago that asked about Covve, and I've been a longtime customer of Covve, but not really a user. And so I made it a task of myself in the last 6 weeks to learn Covve and to add Covve to my stack. Loved LinkedIn. I'm connected there. I love sending voice messages on LinkedIn. Love supporting people, making introductions on LinkedIn. And the other thing, 2 other things I'll say real quickly. I go old school. I use my phone and do, like what it was made to do, just call people out of the blue. And it's amazing that people still answer, right? You don't have a scheduled appointment. You've not gone through Calendly to book. You just call and they answer. And those are amazing conversations when that happens. And then old school, handwrite notes because people will keep them forever. I had a friend tell me this morning, he was in a meeting yesterday and somebody said their first day on the job 20 years ago, their boss gave them this handwritten little 3x5 card and then called out Mike as that boss. And he was blown away that somebody kept a handwritten note 20 years.
I love it. Thank you for sharing, Kevin. And also thank you for sending me a handwritten note and voice memos on LinkedIn. The whole 9 yards. I've got it all from Kevin and I love it. So really cool to see what the makeup of the room is too. A lot of people are using voice messages right now, 64% of the room. That's awesome. Love to see that. That's something that I only started because of Kevin and I started making that a habit more and I love it. It's been really, really meaningful. But thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Now, next up, I would love to welcome Brian Helfman to the stage. So Brian will be our first panelist, and please go ahead and introduce yourself, Brian. Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, Hansen. I'm Brian. I am the founder and chief experience officer at Third Nature. And at Third Nature, we create events and experiences that inspire and empower people to love life more. And I believe one of the most important things when it comes to designing and living a life you love is prioritizing and cultivating connection. And I think of connection, when I think of connection, I think of 3 pillars of connection. Yes, connection to others is obviously vital. And in addition to that, there's connection to yourself and connection to nature or the world at large. And I think when you prioritize any one of these pillars of connection, you're prioritizing all of them because one fuels another and fuels another. When you prioritize and when you're able to cultivate deeper levels of self-understanding and connection to self, I think you're able to more deeply and meaningfully connect with others as well.
I love that. And I think the room is in for a treat with your activity, but go ahead and the floor is yours, Brian. Take it away.
All right. I hope so. Thanks, Hansen. And thank you all for being here. And I'm excited to lead us through our first official activity for today. So this is a little taste of a workshop that I've done over 100 times for different organizations and at Third Nature Summer Camp, for example. But again, it's about connecting with yourself and with that, noticing how you're able to connect more deeply with others. And it starts with a very simple question, but what I hope will be a powerful question for all of you to explore. And I want to invite you to think back as far as you can remember. What was the first thing you remember wanting to be when you grow up? So think back to when you were like 4, 5, maybe 6 years old, when adults would ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your first answer to that question? The first thing you remember as your answer to that question. Think about why did you want to be that thing? And maybe what is it about that thing that's making you smile right now that still resonates with you? And I'll share first, kind of going on our I do, we do, you do script, which I love and is a great tool for any community builder or connector in the experiences you facilitate. So for me personally, when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be an artist. And at the time, I thought that meant drawing, right? Creating with my hands, creating something tangible. But somewhere along the line, probably at like age 6 or 7, I saw, it was probably in like first grade art class. Maybe I saw a peer's drawing that was like way better than mine, or a teacher gave another student like high praise on something they created. And I felt like what I created wasn't as good, right? Wasn't as artistic. And so I moved on from that to something more realistic. I decided, all right, I'm going to be a professional basketball player. And when I lead this workshop in real life, this is the part where people laugh, because if you could see me, you would know that I'm about 5'11" on a good day. And the idea of me being a professional basketball player, also not realistic. But to my 7-year-old self, I thought maybe it would be. And from there, over the course of my life, the things that I wanted for myself became more and more practical and more influenced by the expectations of others, right? And it wasn't until more recently that I started to rediscover my inner artist. And now I look at myself as an experience designer. So I'm no longer creating, beautiful works of art like painting and drawing, but I'm creating experiences for others. So that's me. And now I'd love to bring up, I think we're going to do the we do with Ben, right? So let's do that. All right, Ben. What was your...
Well, funnily enough, similar to you, I wanted to be an artist. But specifically, I wanted to be a painter. And part of that, I think, came from this. I grew up in a family of artistic people, and I was exposed to so many different things that I loved the idea of taking it in and turning it around, sort of transforming it with my own idea and putting it back out in the world. And painting just felt like a really physical, fun way of doing that. Unfortunately, I had a teacher around that age. I had done something, I don't even really remember what it was, but I had done something and sort of tried to put my own spin on it. And she came back and she was just like, you didn't follow the instructions. You were supposed to do it this way. And she called me out in a sort of public way. And I was so young and impressionable and humiliated that it, I think for a good long time, put me on a path of trying to hide what made me distinct and different and find a way to fit in. And it was only until years later that I found the joy and freedom of finding the different parts of me that were more authentic and bringing those back out and being comfortable with that. So, and finding that young kid again and his hopes.
Thanks for sharing that, Ben. And
My
thanks
pleasure.
everyone for playing along. We're going to get into breakout rooms now. And you'll have an opportunity to share. So what was the first thing you remember wanting to be and why? Let's have the person with the longest name go first, but want to make sure both partners in each breakout room have an opportunity to share. And maybe if there's time, share something about that thing that still makes you smile or resonates with you today.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian. Everyone, please give a warm round of applause for Brian here and him being here and facilitating. Next up, we're going to invite in Ben Swire from Make Believe Works. So Ben, welcome. Thank you for being here as well. And please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my pleasure. So yes, I'm Ben. I'm the co-founder of a company called Make Believe Works, and we're a creative team building company. So that means we use imagination and play and art as a way to help teams sort of set aside their professional personas for a short time and connect more fully and easily as people. In our work, we have seen so often how hungry people are to connect, sometimes without even really being aware of it until they're given the chance. But more often than not, they don't know how to make it happen. There are fears and habits and behaviors that get in their way. So we try to help them get vulnerable without feeling exposed, to feel seen without feeling judged, and to connect in a more authentic way so that they're able to bring their full selves to their workplace. So,
yeah, I love it. I've had the opportunity to experience some of the activities that workshops that Make Believe Works facilitate. So if you ever had an opportunity to attend something that they host, highly recommend it. It's been amazing, and just grateful for Ben. And his partner, Laura, has definitely been involved. And so she's not on the spotlight, but she's here with us. And so, yeah, thank you, Ben. I'll go ahead and let you have the spotlight and take it away with your activity today.
Great, thanks. Yes, so one of the clearest things that stands out in our work is that connection is much more than just proximity or an exchange of facts and information. The meaningful connection is fueled by stories, the stories that we share with each other and the stories that we make together. And we've seen that, some of the most powerfully bonding stories come in the form of secrets. Sharing a secret is an act of trust and vulnerability on one side and kindness and responsibility on the other. So that's what we're going to do a little of here today, in microcosm, with a little quick activity we call childhood hoodwinks. So, as I said, we're going to be sharing secrets with each other today, but no PIN codes or passwords, nothing heavy like that. By secret, I just mean something that very few other people, especially on this call, may know. So they're going to be light and silly things. What we're going to be sharing are the secrets of our childhood misunderstandings. So I'd like you to think back to when you were small child, just learning about the world, overhearing conversations and trying to make your best sense of them. And I'm going to ask you to see if you can recall one of those innocent misunderstandings you held as a child. So, for example, as a kid, I was convinced that someone somewhere was winning at traffic. So there was no one else in front of them. They were just loving life. It was a clear, empty road. That was my thing. I had a friend that assumed that all cats were girls and all dogs were boys. One friend shared that her mother had told her that when the ice cream truck was playing music, that meant they were all out of ice cream. But my favorite recently that we heard was prima donna, which means to that person, someone who was born before Madonna. So what I'm going to ask you to do once you get into your breakout rooms is you're going to have 1 minute to draw your misunderstanding as if it were the way the world actually worked. So maybe it's like a bunch of people riding a ferry boat with wings because only fairies were allowed on a ferry boat. Don't title it, just let the picture tell the story. And again, you have only 1 minute, so it's going to be a disaster, and that's part of it. So this is the best that I could do of someone winning at traffic. There's a little trophy over here, there's this person, the wind in their hair, but this is not, and you're not expected to set the art world on fire with this creation. This is just a chance to sort of take it and articulate it in a fun, different way. And so when you're in your room, what I'm going to ask you to do is, get 1 minute to draw the thing, and you guys can time it for yourselves, and then take turns. Show it to your partner, see if they can figure out what your misunderstanding was, and tell them the story of it. Where did it come from? How did how did it impact you? And when maybe did you realize that wasn't the way things went? So we're going to do the I do, we do thing. And Linda is my victim. So Linda, are you comfortable sharing with us your childhood misunderstanding? Let me see if I can see what it is. Okay. So person, can you hold it a little closer to the screen? I'm seeing cups. Is it a cigar? Okay, I am not sure what's happening there. So tell me, what was your misunderstanding?
I grew up in the Midwest. If you were smoking, you better hide it. So this is my grandmother, and she was also the only person. We weren't Mormons. We were allowed to drink coffee, but who drank coffee. So all people who are smoking must indeed drink coffee. That is must be the rule. Those two devices go together. And of course, now that, and so every day as I see people worship coffee, I'm like, where is the smoking? Where is the smoking? Primed.
Does that still echoes in your head?
And I'm working public health. So yeah.
Was there a point that you realized that wasn't the case? Or did it just eventually dawn at you?
Black coffee and cigarettes, it feels like just confirmation bias. That people are probably still secretly smoking or secretly drinking coffee if I'm not seeing it. So yeah, no, I never broke that association.
Lovely. All right. So you all are going to go into your breakout rooms. You'll be responsible for timing yourselves for that 1 minute as you sketch out your disastrous drawing. Hold them up for each other so you can each try to figure out what the other one had done, and then just share the story of it. Where did it come from? Why does that, does it still echo in your head? And then we'll come back together. So first of all, actually, if everyone feels comfortable sharing your misunderstanding in the chat, that would be lovely, so we can see what everyone was working with. But the point of this activity is that It's sort of a fun and gentle reminder of how easy it is to misinterpret the world around us from limited information. Revisiting the silly ways we once saw the world is just a great way to remind ourselves of all the assumptions we take for granted, the nuances and subtleties of language and culture, and all the ways that the world and the people that might be interpreted differently than we assume. And it's a great way to get to know somebody through those secrets and those misunderstandings. So thank you all for playing along. I hope you had fun. And I'm going to hand it back over to Hansen.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. Everyone, please help me in sharing some gratitude for Ben Swire and the Make Believe Works team and all of their great work. And last but not least, let's please welcome to the stage Linda Brandt and Rebecca Cooper. So you guys get the dynamic duo for the last one. Please, Linda and Rebecca, give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and then why is this important to you? Why are you here?
Awesome. So I'm Linda Brandt, and 10 years ago, I started Lean In Together Minneapolis St. Paul. And it has been a project in which I get to think about gender equity. How can we make things more equal? And part of what needs to happen is particularly women need to really show the world how powerful they are and act like they're powerfully and be supported to act powerfully. So last summer, I had this huge gift handed to me by Rebecca, who stayed after the meeting and said,
"Oh, hi everyone. My name is Rebecca Cooper. We had an after hour session where we discussed, and one of the things I had noticed, especially when I was in college and definitely moving into the workforce, was the way women accept compliments versus how men tend to accept compliments. And so, great visual, Linda. And so I would notice, in class, the professor would say to, men, great job. And they would say, oh, I thank you. Like I've spent time doing research on this. This was my internship. I have experience in this area. Whereas when he would compliment women, they would say, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for noticing. And so I started, I thought that was strange. I didn't think too much about it, but I started just noticing this over and over and over again, how women tend to shy away from compliments, either deflect or minimize it. Oh, it wasn't that much. I just threw this together, things of that nature. And so one of the things we practiced was a yes and approach. So Linda, famously in her Lean In groups, has appreciations at the end, which is so great. It takes a moment to just recognize and appreciate everyone who contributed to that session, any insights they brought, any skill set they brought. And so one of the things we've added to it is the yes and. So when we give a compliment and say, Linda, I believe you're such an innovative leader, instead of shying away from that and saying, oh, thank you. I don't really think I'm that, great at this. Linda would say,
yes, thank you. It's been 10 years. I really have grown my leadership through seeing great people like yourself model it.
Awesome. And so just really letting that compliment land. And why that's important is for a few reasons. Number one is statistically, women are very uncomfortable with self-promotion, and it does impact moving up in the company. I would say, so letting that land is very important. Number two would be counteracting imposter syndrome. I know that's a buzzword we've been seeing for the past several years. And one of the things that you do when you accept and receive that compliment is, number one, acknowledging that what that person saw in you is true. You're not minimizing that. But number two, you're building your own evidence pile of your skill set. So instead of, when I look back and I've accepted those compliments and I've really let them land, in my mind and my body, then I'm able to embrace and fully embody that skill set more confidently moving forward. And another thing we're seeing that applies to everyone with work from home would be, in the work from home environment, less visibility and less interaction. And so this would be a way to help solidify those interactions and also just fully embody your skill set and be comfortable with that being visible in the workplace as well.
That's great. Now we are going to model it for what you're going to do in the small group. You're going to introduce yourself. You've already met each other, or maybe it's a new person. I'm Linda. And one thing that I often get complimented on, and in fact, you can put the thing in the chat, what you often get complimented on. We'd love to see it. Start churning, thinking about it. I often get complimented on innovation. And then your partner will. Mm-hmm.
Linda, I attended your Lean In groups for the past year. I think you're an incredible, innovative leader, and I'm just honored to be a part of your group. I think that you're changing generations to come with your influence on leadership and the approach that you're bringing.
Thank you. And actually, I've been getting that feedback the last week, and I think it's because my mom was unusual, and so I've learned to be unusual.
Awesome.
Can we do high five?
Yes, you're going to high five.
Switch
Hi,
roles.
my name's Rebecca Cooper, and one of the things I often get complimented for is communication.
Duh, we're here because of you communicating so distinctly that we said hit record when she says these brilliant things. I have no doubt that my group is not the only group that's been changed by you and your excellent communication skills.
Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate that. Communication has always been a value of mine. It's something that I've made an effort to develop, and I'm glad I'm able to contribute.
All right. Take turns. Tell the person what you should be complimented on. Compliment the other person. Then not only accept it, but extend it. And then take your high five and switch roles. And the
Absolutely.
instructions are in the chat.
All right. Enjoy the last breakout, folks. When we come back, we'll take a group photo and have our after party for 15 minutes. But let's take it away, Hannesis, and send them off.
Woo.
Welcome back, everyone. You did it. Round of applause. You survived the Joyful Masterclass. I hope you felt that joy. I know we did in the while you were in the breakout rooms, we were hanging out, and that was a lot of fun. And I had to practice accepting a compliment. That was a really great exercise. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Like I mentioned, we're going to hang out for 15 minutes if you do have the space to hang with us and keep connecting. And we're going to start with launching a poll that will we want to make sure we're understanding what is the next step for people in their own connection mastery, as Kevin was saying, as he's mastering connection, and what are the resources that would help you the most? Several on here, feel free to pick what you want. One of these I do want to call out, we've had people request us sharing like a contact database of who's in the connection crew. It's not something we want to just share openly with everyone if they haven't opted into that. So that first response, that keep connected response on this poll, that is like the opt-in now for people. We're going to create just a member list and with your name and email. And so make sure we get that out in the world and you can keep connecting with each other. So hopefully that helps you kind of remember who was who and have each other's email and not just forget and have to wait till the next time. I'm super grateful. We had another good time together. I had two of the most major technical difficulties out of all of these today, and we survived. And it's so cool to see your faces again. Thank you for being here, everyone. Yeah, that's it for us today. Again, hang out with the after party. Let's have a good time. We can share some results too. What do we got here, people? Everyone wants to stay connected. 91% of you want to stay connected. So I think we're doing something right here. Hennesis, how did it go? Everyone okay?
We survived the attack.
Yes, let's chat. Flaminia, how was it for you?
It was great. It's evening my time. It's 8 p.m. here in Rome, Italy, and I feel very lit. Thank you so much for hosting this, you guys. It's been really great, and thank you, Laura, for inviting us here.
Yeah, thank you, Hive folks, for being here. And when you say lit, that makes me look directly at Nathan, a new friend of mine, friend of a friend from the Groove community, and he literally his job is light. He works with light and art and teaching people how to connect through light. So Nathan, how was it for you?
Yeah, it was great, Hansen. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Lots of really good tips and just ways to connect. And yeah, it's just really interesting hearing people's stories and seeing how people are. It's really good.
Cool. So good to have you here.
Hey, Nathan, post your
stopped.
video link in the chat.
Yeah.
Post your video link. It's amazing.
Okay, I would.
I had the same reaction. If connection's your jam and then you go watch this video, I feel like you're going to just be like, I love this video. I got to talk to this guy. Famia, good to see you again. How was it today?
Hi, how are you, Hansen? It was great. I loved it. I had so much fun. I see a lot of familiar faces, new faces, and then I had the pleasure of talking to Nick 3 times in a row. So yeah, got a chance to know him even more.
That's great. I know that's the intention. Sometimes the breakout rooms get a little messy and Hennesis has her work cut out for her, but the intention is to stay with the person so that way you get to learn more about them and get to know them better throughout. And Charlie, you jumped out back into a breakout room at the end. I was in the middle of giving you a compliment if you're open to a compliment.
That's
But-
so sweet. I am wide open to a compliment.
Yes. I even on a virtual space, I just love how your sparkle energy comes through. It's hard to do it virtually. I feel like I have to try really hard for that, and you don't seem to have to try that hard. It's just like you sparkle, and even in virtual spaces.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. My partner said that as well. He said, I can tell that you have great energy over this video. And it's hard. There's like something, well, it's interesting. Humans have electricity in our body. So you would think that it wouldn't translate over here, but I think something happens there. So I really appreciate it. I feel very sparkly within this session. I also feel safe to sparkle, which is really beautiful. Hansen, you establish a really beautiful tone. So yes, I've spent a lot of time allowing myself to be sparkly and bold and take up space. So thank you for noticing.
High
Rebecca
five.
and I noticed in particular that you modeled that beautifully.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Yeah.
for teaching me.
So great to see you practice. Yeah.
Kelly, do you
Right.
ever get any blowback for accepting compliments like that?
I think it's more probably silent judgment. Like I think
Okay.
that's part of the supports of imposter systems, is that like even as I'm not a woman, but as like someone raised by a woman, even when we like believe this intellectually, we see someone else accept a compliment and we're like, I don't know, you think pretty highly of yourself. But then also we get down on each other for having low self-esteem too. So I guess it's more
Absolutely.
It's more the fear of the silent judgment. Actually, I'm realizing if it's silent judgment, they're not telling me, that's all me projecting on them. So blowback in my own head is my final answer.
Oh, and Stephen, how was it for you today? Stephen Crane, good to see you.
That was lovely. Thanks for getting this together. I'm really amazed to see how many people there are. I thought it was going to be a much smaller event, but it's just like this huge abundance of folks on the call. It was great to connect with my little breakout sessions, and yeah, just feeling a lot of gratitude for you all.
Yeah, stoked to be here with you guys. And that's a wrap.